Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, correct? And the relation between Arjuna and Krishna was friend and devotee, but also he was, by family ties, he was a cousin. Correct? Krishna had a father, Vasudeva. Arjuna had a mother, Kunti. And the two were brother and sister. So they're cousins. And Vasudeva, Krishna's father, had some other brothers. And one of those other brothers' name was Devabhaga. And Devabhaga had a son whose name was Uddhava. So later, Uddhava is like Arjuna. They're friends. And Uddhava's mood is not Sakyarasa, it's Dasyarasa. He likes being in service to Krishna. That's his mood. And he's so intimate with Krishna that he understands everything. Nothing remains unknown to Uddhava because they're so close. You know, someone you're really, really, really close to, they don't even have to say stuff. You understand what's going on because you know them so well. If you have some people that are like that in your life, you know them inside out, and they know that you know them inside out, and there's no problem because you're a confidential person, and they can share anything, and you can share anything with them, and it's just fine. So that's the kind of relationship with Uddhava. And when Krishna was ready to depart this world, Uddhava knew. So he went to Krishna privately in Dwarka, fell at his feet, literally clasped his feet, and was crying. Hot tears. Don't leave me. Take me with you. Krishna didn't say I'm leaving, but he knew. Please don't leave. And if you leave, take me with you. And crying and crying and crying. It was like very emotional. Naturally. They're eternal associates. Krishna's leaving. It's like, the gopis leaving Vrindavan. Krishna leaving Vrindavan to go to Mathura. They were crying and crying. So it's like that. And rather than taking Uddhava with him, he gave him teachings that could give him strength, and then he gave him some service to do in his physical absence or his spiritual absence, to carry a message to the Himalayas, to the ashram of Narayana and Narayana rishis and their devotees up there. So it's in that section. It's called Uddhava Gita, many chapters, and this is a verse taken from that section. So Krishna is speaking to Uddhava. Generally, those human beings who can expertly analyze the actual situation of the material world are able to raise themselves beyond the inauspicious life of gross material gratification. Why is this here? Because this is something that Hanuman was capable of also. He was right in the middle of, the kingdom of the chief of the Rakshasas, the terrorist of the universe. He was right in his kingdom, walking around, checking things out, observing. But he's totally unaffected. And that's loka tattva vichakshataha. He is able to analyze. He was protected by that spiritual potency. So his service was the spiritual potency. And being intelligent, he knew how to carry out his service in such a way, yeyatam mam prapadyante tang sadaiva bhajamyaham. Krishna would give intelligence, dadami buddhi yogam tam, how to reach me. But he's not there yet. But he's protected. That's the message. So here we go. Hanuman is that expert from whom we can learn to observe the world around us, not succumb to ephemeral distractions, while prayerfully carrying forward toward pure devotional service. Navigate your way through the difficult place, the material world. It's a difficult place. By design, it's a difficult place. By Krishna's design, it's a difficult place. It's not a nice place. Here we are. And there's difficulty. That's okay. You stay fixed in this mood of service, and Krishna will give you the intelligence how to navigate your way. You understand with detachment what this place is. It's just a principle. It's what Krishna is teaching to Uddhava. It's what Hanuman is displaying in this little section. And it's described in poetic fashion. Now, living entities that aren't so elevated, they tendency to get really focused on problems, problem solving. This problem, that problem, 10 problems, 50 problems. Oh. And you heard in this, those that were with us, that negative emotion topic from the Chinese devotee class. How to deal with it. Because it's part of the place where we are. And conditioned living entities just get absorbed in the temporary and struggle. The message that we're hearing is this poetry of Sundara Kanda and the whole of Ramayana takes our attention away from that self-pity and negative emotion stuff towards something else, another reality. Ultimately, there are these spiritual personalities involved in Ramayana, or the spiritual nature, or even material nature, just away from. Poetry has such an effect, just like music has such an effect also. Thus, poetry becomes a useful prop to develop attraction for the Supreme Lord, His energies, His activities. Another feature, there's a description. Of course, it's not going to happen in this section of Sundara Kanda, but we find very attractive descriptions of the personality of Godhead. Here's one such example. Very nice example. The highest perfectional gain of humanity is to engage in discussions of the activities and glories of the pious actor. Guess what that is? The personality of Godhead with capital letters. Such activities, so Krishna's Leela or Ram's Leela or the pastimes of the personality of Godhead, such activities are so nicely arranged in writing by the greatly learned sages that the actual purpose of the ear is served just by being near them. It's so easy. Shravanam Kirtanam, of the right subject matter from the right source. And Sundara Kanda is one of those sources. So Hanuman is going to pass through Lanka, and he's going to describe what he's experiencing in poetic descriptions. And then eventually, we're not there yet, but he'll find her soon, descriptions of Sita Devi, and then the purity of Hanuman, where he's not at all affected by all of this stuff that's going on. So Hanuman's walking around outside Ravana's palace, and he moves into the inner quarters of Ravana. So there he is, Hanuman's there on the right. Inside the fort of Ravana, Hanuman saw exquisitely beautiful, shy ladies with their husbands. and paramours, some dressed with clothes and some not fully clothed. Not a place for a brahmachari, that's for sure. But Hanuman wasn't allured, and he couldn't find Sita. There's 4 verses in a row. He did not see Sita Devi, one with great beauty, born in a royal family, following a virtuous path, well brought up, like a creeper in full bloom, one who was thin, and one who was born from the mind of the Creator. But Sita's not there. Since Sita Devi was a virtuous consort of Sri Ram, the ladies dallying with men in Lanka, dancing and drinking liquor with abandon, were not Sita Devi. 1 down and 3 to go. Hanuman did not see that Sita Devi who stood in the path of ancient righteousness with her sight on Sri Ram, who was possessed by love for Sri Ram, who entered the glorious mind of husband, and always the best among the women who were the best. The grammar's not right. You fix it. Okay. So he's searching and searching and searching. None of the ladies with whom Hanuman observed seem to love or miss Sri Ram, so she's not in this assembly. That's not her. Let's move on to the next one. Sita was tortured by separation from Sri Ram with unabounding tears in her throat. Now, how do tears get in your throat? It says poetic, so don't worry about it. Tears in her throat. In earlier times, who had invaluable and best jewelry. So previously she was a princess. And then she got married to Ram, and next thing you know, she's living in the forest. She's used to opulence. Born with beautiful eyebrows, with a sweet voice, like a she-hen who did not dance in a forest because of her current sorrow. But she sees all these other ladies dancing around and not crying in separation, so that's not Sita. She's looking for Sita. He's looking here, he's looking there, and he's not finding Sita. He's going to get a little unhappy or like, not discouraged, just like, this is a difficult situation. Hanuman did not see Sita Devi, who would be like a barely visible ray of the moon. Did you see the moon last night? The Ekadasi moon? Did you see it last night? And who saw the Ekadasi moon? Look tonight, because today's Ekadasi. It was the Ekadasi moon last night, so it's just like a little sliver. And then a ray from that little sliver. Like a barely visible ray of the moon. Like a streak of gold. This is poetry. Like a streak of gold covered with dust. Like an unheralded scar of a wound caused by an arrow. Only superficially covered. Wound that's only superficially covered. And like a flake of cloud swept away by the wind. Whoop. Let's go back. None of the ladies whom Hanuman observed were scarred by Ravana's abduction. In other words, using that metaphor, it's a nice metaphor, a scar that hasn't quite healed. These ladies are not like that. So Sita's not in any of this assembly that he's looking around. Hanuman had not met Sita he was trying to discern Sita based on her description by Sri Ram. We too have not had direct perception of the Supreme Lord, but Shastra helps us by giving appropriate descriptions. Yes? It's true. It's true. We have faith in the Shastra, and therefore faith in the Shastra, they're here the descriptions of the personality of Godhead. We haven't seen him, but we have some image in our mind based upon that sound vibration, that narration. And that's what we're living for. Just as Hanuman discovers the beauty of Sita Devi's character, notice in the upper right it says key lessons. Hanuman discovers the beauty of Sita Devi's character after meeting Sita. Likewise, we too can start with a theoretical understanding and gradually develop it to factual realization. This is a lesson of sadhana. Okay, Hanuman's not a sadhaka. He's a perfect devotee, but he's got kind of mission impossible. Cross the ocean, deal with Ravana's harem, and searching for Sita, and he can't find Sita. He's going to try this and try that, and none of this is Sita. He's ruling out the non-options. Virtue, these are characteristics. Virtue, love for the Supreme Lord, and love in separation are the hallmark of the internal energy of the Supreme Lord. So she's the internal energy. Yes? Swarup Shakti. She is his internal energy, and she has love for him, unparalleled love. And she's feeling separation, as he's feeling separation from her. So we need to cultivate these qualities by the grace of the internal potency. So just by get the message, the search for Sita, and we're just readers of the Ramayana, but the heart gets drawn into Hanuman's got to find Sita, and then once Hanuman finds Sita, the whole sequence, Hanuman has to convince Sita that he's representing Ram. He's not a trick. He's not a Rakshasa trick, because there she is in the midst of Rakshasas for a long time, and tormenting her and so who knows if this is just another trick. So she's not giving her full trust to this introduction. So he has to be really careful. Could blow the whole thing. And once she starts to trust, then he knows what to do. Then the next step, and then the next step, then the next step. It's very beautiful section. Really beautiful. It's the living entity being revived by the guru to their position of safety and protection under the care of the personality of Godhead. When they're in this strange land that's very uninviting, harsh and cruel, this place, the place where we are is not exactly like Ravana's kingdom, but in another sense, it's another type of another jail cell in the prison. Not a nice place. Not a nice place. You can paint it nice, but it's not a nice place. We don't belong here. So to get that sense that Sita has towards Ram, we have to, hearing about her and her affinity for the personality of Godhead will help us and our affinity for the personality of Godhead. So when he's not able to find Sita, what happens? He feels grief. But that grief isn't a negative, it's a negative emotion, but it's an impetus to go forward. Now he's considered where he haven't looked yet. So Ravana's personal palace. Yeah, I haven't gone there yet. So he goes near the palace of Hanuman, Ravana. Hanuman searched the house of his associates, Prahasta, Mahaparshva, Kumbhakarna, Vibhishana, Mahodara, Vipaksha, Sukha, Sharana, Indrajit. Struck out. Sita's not there. Not to be found. So he personally goes to Ravana's palace. Whoa. The most opulent of places. Massive entrances. Beautifully decorated. Made of gold. He's like Hiranyakashipu. He liked gold. House filled with many diamonds. Great chariots and utensils and who knows, all kinds of other things. Sounds of musical instruments like mridanga, and many people made it sound like a forest with many lions. Nice artwork, huh? There were bowers, art galleries, pleasure houses, couches, and seats made of gold. And then there was liquor made with honey, with an enticing aroma. Hanuman wasn't attracted. Where's Sita? And then he came to the place where the Pushpaka Vimana was kept. Ooh, this thing is, besides it's fascinating, it's really big. And it's really opulent. It was almost 4 miles long and 8 miles tall. That's tall. The aircraft moved by the thoughts of a concentrated mind and was created by Vishwakarma. It had many items collected from various parts of the world and made intricately with great effort. Vishwakarma is the architect. He knows how to build these things. The aircraft was decorated with artificial birds made of cat's eyes gems. Cat's eye gems. Cat's eye gems. Silver and coral on the wings, and golden flowers surrounding the birds. Its very presence was calm, like an autumn moon, and it towered over the other buildings in Lanka. It's just like an airplane hangar or something, 8 miles tall. It's bigger than anything else in the whole city. It's like a big thing. Every small item in the airplane was made with significant effort. So that's not where Sita is. There was an image of the goddess Lakshmi with 4 graceful hands, holding a lotus flower in her hand, surrounded by elephants and having lotuses in their trunks. Sita's not here. Rakshasas are roaming about in the Pushpaka Vimana. But Sita Devi was not to be found. He's patient, but it's difficult. So here's some of the qualifications of Hanuman. This is just built within the text itself. Bahu vidha bhavita atmanaha. His thoughts of the absolute truth were always fixed in his mind in various ways. He possessed a disciplined mind, kritamanaha. He was the follower of a righteous path. He was foresighted, but he became stricken with grief, very distressed. So he grew, this is the second time around, he's searching, but he doesn't give up. It's worthless. Let me go back. No question to go back. He persisted in search for Sita, entering the inner buildings of Ravana's palace. It's risky business. inner chambers of Ravana's palace, he was greeted by a captivating fragrance, but Hanuman resisted. The hall was covered by, listen to this, a carpet with a map of the world, replete with rivers, mountains, and oceans painted on it. I've never seen a carpet like that. The floor was embellished with crystal. The inner palace appeared like heaven. The reason it appeared like heaven because it was like heaven, because it was previously the place of Kuvera. And thousands of women were present in the palace. The luster, complexion, and grace of these women resembled great radiant stars. And they all look very beautiful, and we're going to hear something about how they became beautiful. When Ravana was happily asleep, the gods of light burning on the gold lampposts gazed without winking at the women whom they dare not gaze at for fear of waking Ravana. There's a giant, I don't see 10 heads. I only see one head. But that's okay. And while he's asleep, they're dancing and carrying on, but they're not waking him. All these women had been usurped by Ravana or came on their own, but they had begun to like Ravana's valor and were physically attracted to him. Not Sita. The wives of Ravana were women of royal sages, brahmanas, demons, Gandharvas, and Rakshasas. He traveled all over and picked up a number of ladies. Every wife was from a good lineage, extremely beautiful, skillful, high intellect, and had a mood of service. Sita's not here. No way. Quite the opposite. If the lawful wife of Ram, born of good family, can be allowed to remain with Ram in the same way as the consorts of this Lord of demons, how fortunate it would be. And then the converse, what a terrible, ignoble act has he done to kidnap Sita. He has feelings towards Ram and very different feelings towards Ravana. So now comes the theme of this section, his purity. He had experienced all of this. One sense, they're objects of enjoyment. That's the senses and sense objects and enjoy. And he's not in the slightest attracted to any of this. His thoughts don't go there at all. There's only one thought. He wants to be in service for the welfare of Ram and the Vanaras. That's the theme that's come from earlier verses. That's his absorption. What about us? How can we get to that standard? Well, it takes a lot of mercy. And hearing the relationship between us and the personality of Godhead through the medium of the spiritual master. That's how it happens. Now, there's supposed to be a document that some of you should have received. They received it? Not yet. You'll shortly receive a document, sometime before the day is over. I promise you, as long as the electricity continues working. Sometimes it doesn't work here in India. It shuts out. So there's a nice story that you'll get a copy of a personality named Upamanyu. Upamanyu was a student of a great saint. And the disciple, Upamanyu, had a service. And his service was to look after cows that belonged to the saint, the sage. And one day, when he came back from taking care of the cows, the saint asked him, "What did you eat while you were working?" So there's a whole series of this and that and the other thing and the other thing. So the teacher, the saint, is examining his student by giving this restraint, curbing that tendency, and diminishing and diminishing and diminishing and diminishing until it's like he's going to go out of existence because he can't eat. So then he ends up, you'll hear the whole story, he ends up eating leaves. But they're leaves that caused him this terrible illness, and he was about to die. This is an interesting story. So, Hanuman, how to become, the culture of becoming a servant is have a good master. And the good master was able to, when his disciple was in difficulty, or student was in difficulty, he was able to rescue him. Ultimately, transcendentally rescue him, not physically, in this particular narration. So, how does this is in response to how do we become Hanuman-like? You need a good teacher. You need to be a good follower of a good teacher, and very submissive and obedient to the good teacher, continuing to help you become less and less and less and less, progressively less prone to indulgence in sense gratification and more prone to becoming attached to the Supreme. It's gradual, but that's the principle that's involved in the process. And eventually this Upamanyu went back to Godhead, because his spiritual master was so pleased with him that facility was provided. So it's not, I'm tempted to comment because it's easy to comment on something like this. In many cases, the description of the process of bhakti yoga is so simple, anyone can do it, a child can do it, and it doesn't cost anything, and everyone can, like peaches and cream on top of cake. Yummy. I'll take some more. So it sounds really easy. And then you start practicing bhakti yoga, and it's not the activity is difficult, but achieving the result is a little more than just snapping your fingers. That's okay. It's okay. The purification is going on while we're going through that. So those emotions that says, why is it not happening? And then it forces one to look a little more internally, and who am I, and how am I applying myself, and what quality of faith do I have in the instructions, and is it actually possible? It's certainly actually possible. Some persons become super, super, super qualified, and I'm not one of those, at least at this stage. So now I have to apply myself, redouble my efforts, not check out. And those that meet that challenge, because it's nice. Not just, in this case, the guru of Upamanyu is examining him. Krishna is examining us through different mediums. Let me share a little Prabhupada story, because I was told some people here like Prabhupada stories. So I remember this very vividly. This is the scene is New York Temple, Henry Street Temple in Brooklyn. It's a rented building, and Prabhupada's Vyasasana, purposely, the person that made the Vyasasana made it a real high Vyasasana, and it was difficult for him to get up. But once he was up, he was up. And we're down looking up, which is the way it should be. So Prabhupada is speaking about this topic. Krishna may examine us. We say to Krishna, my dear Lord Krishna, please quit fooling around. My dear Lord Krishna, I want to become your eternal servant. Please engage me eternally in your service. And Krishna may say, oh, he or she wants to become my devotee. What about a little sense gratification? And the sense gratification comes rolling at your feet and rolling it. Prabhupada is making the motion with his hands. Rolling at your feet, please take me, please take me. And from the Vyasa-san, Prabhupada went, no, I only want Krishna. Maybe he or she actually wants me. What about a little difficulty? And difficulty comes, and the devotee says to Krishna, that's okay. Do with me as you, like Kunti, do with me as you wish, but I simply want your lotus feet. Maybe he or she does want me. Let me give myself to them. It's his way, it was one way, in one circumstance of saying that sometimes Krishna will examine our determination. And it's not just a one-time examination. It can stretch over some number of years. But what's going on? Krishna wants us to become qualified to be in his association, as we've heard Prabhupada say so many times. In order to enter into fire, you have to become fire. You have to become fire-like. To enter into the spiritual atmosphere, you have to become fully qualified. So that's this topic. How does one become Hanuman-like? Because we're hearing these nice qualifications of Hanuman. What if we fall prey to lust or greed, which Hanuman avoided? That's the problem, isn't it? Here's a nice instruction, one amongst many nice instructions from Raghunath Das Goswami, who's instructing his mind. The one who thinks that they're in charge is the mind. The highwaymen of lust and his friends have bound me around the neck with the painful, horrible, powerful ropes of many wicked deeds. Oh, mind, please scream out to the devotees of Krishna, the killer of Baka. I am being killed. Then he will save me. In other words, the intensity of aspiration for Krishna's shelter, despite this and that and the other thing, acknowledging there's this and that and the other. We're not talking under the rug. It's not easy to get to that place of full shelter, but I need the shelter. And you call out to Krishna and to the devotees of Krishna, and the help is there. And we're nearing the end. To overcome lust, greed, etc., one has to cry to devotees for help. One may not win the war against Maya, but one can cry to devotees and thereby cross the ocean of Maya. And here's a very nice painting, Compliments of Shivaram Maharaj, in his book. This is Raghunath Das Goswami. It's a very beautiful painting. Most sadhakas treat lust, anger, and greed as obstacles to be removed by vigorous effort, which is one procedure. Raghunath Das is offering a second procedure. These anarthas trigger us for taking deeper shelter. They remind us that we have an original spiritual shelter, original natural disposition, being dependent upon Krishna and Krishna's devotees. So that's, Krishna is examining us to get us to that position. So even Hanuman, which to speak a little us, even Hanuman is undergoing this kind of challenge or difficulty or obstacle. There was the four that he met before, and now it's just he can't find Sita anywhere. Shh. Okay. Good news. Next class, Sita's going to show up. Isn't it a thrilling, lesson imparting sequence of events? Especially if you go through it like this slowly. It's not just like reading it like a comic book or something, an adventure story. It's a devotional masterpiece of meeting obstacles and somehow persevering and somehow and with that kind of determination, perseverance, and the mercy of Krishna and Krishna's devotees, you find Sita. Would you like to find Sita? Come tomorrow. Okay. And it's only 7:45. So let's see if there's some discussion. I see a lot of devotees came for this evening class. You must like Sundara Kanda. There's a nice...
Hare Krishna.
We can hear you. I can hear you.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
I can hear you. Speak.
Yeah. Thank you for your classes, which are purifying and empowering, really rejuvenating. Guru Maharaj, you said that Hanuman is an eternal associate. Like,
So speak slowly. Yeah. Hanuman is what?
Eternal associate, like Arjuna. And you also mentioned that Prabhupada himself disclosed how Krishna sent him here.
Yeah.
So these Nitya Siddhas are exalted devotees. Their actions, their results, they are, very, very great. Now, as a conditioned soul like myself, we have small duty, Nitya Buddhas.
You have a conditioned soul, huh?
So when we perform these small duties, it seems that the focus should be on following these great devotees in their footsteps, trying to understand their spiritual qualities and...
Yeah. You got the right understanding. Now where are we going?
Yeah. So...
we learn
because the results of activities may come or may not come. So if that's the focus, is that good enough?
What's he asking?
The results don't manifest, but just we focus on anything.
Yeah. Our receiver, put the microphone down. Our receiver is dull. It may take a long time for the receiver to register a little blip on the screen that says, you're getting there. Because we're victims of Kali Yuga, and it's not a nice time. We're not saints. So it takes a while, but be reassured. In principle, be reassured. Purification is happening. Just like what we're doing right now. The room is filled with people that are different levels and different stages of their spiritual trajectory. And we're all going to experience something different at the end of the day. But the purification through sound is the same. It's just the receiver is going to be better in tuned or not so well in tuned. But the sound vibration is acting for each of us. So be reassured. And that day will come by, it's the same, persevere. Hanuman's being disappointed. He's searching and searching and searching, and he's feeling sad. He wants Ramchandra to smile that it's not happening. But he's getting there. So, similar. Not that, we're not Hanuman, but the principle is similar. Does that address your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Someone else? That was easy. It was right behind you. Go ahead.
Guru Maharaj, I think I still need some more help in how to question versus sadhu sangha. So as I see, or I myself, I have been taking care of, I am taking the association of devotees very frequently. There are many services that we do together.
Good.
But I still have the struggle with the how to problem.
With the which, how to?
Yes. So,
Really?
Although I'm taking the sadhu sangha, but the how to problems still exist.
I don't understand your question. The how-to problem still exists. So, is your question the same as his question? Just asked differently? In other words, I'm not there yet. There's a process to get there. I put it in my GPS. It's a good GPS system, and I'm going towards what the GPS is telling me, but I'm not there yet. Is that what you're saying?
Little different. That the devotee association, how do I, make the best of the devotee association?
The best use of that situation. That's what you're asking.
Best of the devotee association, so that I can get over this how to problems.
Well, okay. Part of what I'm saying is be patient, and another is be a little circumspect about, like Hanuman when he first landed, about how you're going about applying the resource that's been provided for you. Am I eager to learn sufficiently? Am I avoiding offense sufficiently? Am I, so you introspect, and what's going on inside, not what's going on outside, which is kind of what you're asking. How do I apply myself to this resource in a better way? You introspect, and so when you're asking the question that you're asking, you're likely to get some little indicators, because it's going to be different for different persons. But how closely am I following the do's, and how closely am I opening my heart to that resource versus, holding on to a material conception of who they are and who I am and what's going on and everything. How close am I getting to Krishna's at the center, not I'm at the center? I find my observation is it's really hard to let go of self-centeredness, that it's all about me and how I'm progressing, as opposed to Krishna's to be pleased. I mean, it's one of the things that we're hearing about Hanuman. It's all about fulfilling the instruction of Ram. Ram should be pleased. He wants Sita. So that's it. It's not about him. So I'm suggesting that's an area, the introspection focus that you can look at. How much am I still at the center? How much is it about me instead of how much is it about reconnecting with my eternal relationship with Krishna, and Krishna is at the center again. This is the introspection. So it's the application of the resource, which is what you're asking. So the qualitative hearing and the introspection. And with confidence that the qualitative hearing is, I may not be perceiving quantum progress, but it's progress. Probably, I'll take a guess, because I don't know you, but where you were 6 months ago and where you are today is different. So it's progress. And there may be, as you go along, the sine curve. It goes up a bit, it goes down a little bit, then it goes up, but the amplitude is going to keep moving in the direction of an upward direction. So asking the question, say one more time, asking the question you're asking is a good sign. It's a sign that you're going to keep going upward and not just sideways. Okay? This boy has a special devotee.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you Maharaj for your very divine association, and thank you for your very nice session today. How Hanuman searching in Sita through Lord's Ram instruction. In that instruction you mentioned that Shastra is the appropriate way to find the Lord. So we see also where many devotees by simply reading Srila Prabhupada books become very highly elevated devotees. So my question is, how can I develop in that kind of faith in Shastra?
How do you become, when you're hungry, how do you become free from hunger? So continue. Your question is similar to his question. Qualitatively, how do I engage in the hearing or taking the Sangha, etc., etc., etc. So it's a qualitative. So the answer that I gave him is similar to the answer that's appropriate for your question. The process itself is fine. The receiver, that's me, that's not so fine. So let me continue to invest faith in the process and see how, same message, the focus goes away from me and the focus goes to the object of service, the qualitative medium of service to the Supreme. And then we need good examples that become Hanuman-like. That's what we've been speaking about. So, how well am I applying myself to the process? This kind of question, this is a fantastic question. It's probably a question that most of us are asking anyways, and if we're not, we should be. And that inquisitiveness to go further is essential. So again, congratulations for your nice question. Okay?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So in Ravana's palace, we see that the women who are wives of the sages are voluntarily transformed into serving Ravana. That is an adharmic thing. But why is Lakshmi Devi feeling obligated to bless Ravana when he is when she is a consort of Vishnu, maid's servant?
So she didn't agree, she didn't go follow the path that these other ladies followed. She's off in the Ashok garden because she was, no, and he was saying yes, and she was saying no. So I'm not sure what she wasn't like those other ladies. That's exactly what you just said. If what I think you just said is what Hanuman concluded. Those ladies are not like Sita. Sita's not like those ladies. That's not what you said. No. Okay.
So
Try again.
I'm just thinking Lakshmi Devi is blessing with opulence. There is a lot of opulence in Ravana's kingdom, but he's doing a lot of adharmic activity also. So
why is there opulence? That's what you want to know?
well,
Demons can be opulent. He stole Kuvera's kingdom, which is opulent. He didn't kill Kuvera, but he was his cousin brother or stepbrother. He just beat him up and took his kingdom. That's where the opulence comes from the piety. But demons undergo austerity, so they get strength, so they can have piety, they can enjoy. That's their program. So some demons have opulence, some demons have poverty. It's okay. But how are they using it? For sense gratification, whatever they have. And that means it's the piety, the fruits of piety are diminishing. As opposed to those other persons who are Vaishnavas, their fruits of their piety is increasing and the fruits of piety is increasing, and they're not attracted to be the enjoyer of it. Is that okay? Okay. I see it's 8 o'clock. We're going to take one more question.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. Guru Maharaj.
Speak up.
Guru Maharaj, in one of the previous classes, in response to one question on how to, you were saying about association. I remember you said good association and wholesome association. Guru Maharaj, is there a difference between good association and wholesome association?
Not really. Wholesome association is good association. Good association is wholesome association. But what I like the word wholesome in the sense it's less commonly used than the word good. So what are some of the characteristics of wholesomeness? Abide by virtue. A wholesome person is one who knows what is virtuous or what is to be done, and they consistently live that way. I like using that term, especially for younger generation people, children. Parents are naturally concerned whom my son or daughter is associating with. Is that person a wholesome person? Because if they're a wholesome person, they're not going to corrupt my son or daughter. But a son or daughter in the association of unwholesome people can get corrupted. the good child can become a corrupted child by unwholesome association. So wholesome is, upward bound by choice and by consistent conduct. And then you're aligned with what's virtuous. So that's good association. It's just a little more refined way, or a little more, what does good mean? Okay. Well, we're going to have one more class, and Sita's going to be found. So I hope we find some of you, or most of you, or even all of you, present for finding Sita. Srila Prabhupada ki, Hanuman ki, Gaur Pimanandi.
His Holiness Srila Romapada Swami Maharaj ki.